Yeah, so thank you and welcome to our afternoon session on driving new revenue through connected vehicle services. Obviously this is a very topical conversation at the minute. I think most of you are aware of the kind of the backlash in the press to BMW's announcement that they were going to start to charge a subscription for heated seats and heated steering wheels. And so we wanted to kind of take a step back today really and say actually, before manufacturers, retailers and fleets can start to monetize the vehicle, there's a few kind of ground rules and hygiene things that we need to put in place first. So I'm not going to really talk about any future facing products, but as you've heard many times already over a couple of days, please base any purchasing decisions you make off the back of this excellent presentation on features and capabilities that are currently available. So a little bit of background to myself. So my name's Matthew Simpkins. I'm an industry advisor here at Salesforce for manufacturing, automotive and energy. Prior to that, I was at Jaguar Land Rover for 10 years. 5 of those I was a Salesforce customer where configured, procured, deployed Salesforce across 36 markets and 450 showrooms. And very early on, we did a prototype around bringing connected vehicle data into Salesforce, really in the after sales space, about looking at predictive service appointments. But as we know, the world has moved on significantly in 7 years, and actually the opportunity in this space is enormous. But as I said in yesterday's session, partnership is the new leadership, and I think if we are to truly drive value in the connected vehicle space as an automotive ecosystem, we need to kind of come together, leading with core values around trust and success, to make sure that drivers and owners really understand the value exchange that they're getting from their data. So with that, I'm just going to introduce Giuseppe and Anders, so from 2 key Salesforce partners, Upstream and Otonomo. Both companies are experts in the connected vehicle space. Both are Salesforce partners with ISV products on the App Exchange. Very, very simply, what that means is that if you are a Salesforce customer today and you want to be able to bring connected vehicle data into Sales or Service Cloud, you can sign up with either of these and you can then, through the ISV package, bring that data in. Now, questions around consent will arise, and we'll try and give time at the end of the session today to talk about that. But maybe I'll just start with a couple of interesting facts and then I will hand over to Giuseppe. So the first thing is that the actual cybersecurity, forget monetization of features and software over the air, will increase significantly, probably double in the next 5 to 6 years. And the former CEO of Jaguar Land Rover said that actually now, as we've seen, the cybersecurity on a vehicle is as important as the physical security on a vehicle. And when we were talking about this session, Giuseppe brought it to my attention that actually one of the key vulnerability points now for vehicles is actually electric vehicles and public charging. You probably don't realise, but when you actually plug into an electric vehicle charging point and you open up that app, you are actually opening up a potential vulnerability into the vehicle. So the ecosystem was complex to start with. Now with the introduction of EV and public connections, it's got something worse. So Giuseppe, maybe with that I'll ask you just to come to the stage, give a little bit of an overview of Upstream and what we're doing for customers today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yes. Excellent. Thank you very much for being here with you today. Really appreciate it. So you're not in the wrong session talking about monetization and you find yourself with a speech about cybersecurity. In fact, there's only 3 sessions here at the Salesforce Dreamforce event. One is about education, the other is about general IT, and more importantly, as Matthew alluded, we need to think about something that we take for granted. So if we jump on a plane, we don't ask if this is safe or not, we just do it. And as in the auto industry, we are moving into digitalizing our world, new features like electrification, talk about user centricity, how to enable new revenue streams. All that is really important, but I will tell you a few things about Upstream. So I'm the VP of Market Development, and at Upstream we have a vision. Our vision is to make smart mobility safe and secure. Upstream is a company that was founded in 2017 in Israel. We have global presence, and we have a cybersecurity data platform and data management platform for the connected vehicle ecosystem. Prior to joining Upstream, I was in charge for the global business at IBM for connected vehicle and automotive cybersecurity. So let's jump into it. Why is cyber really an important topic? It's because the bad guys know that there's money to be made. It's not about killing people, but again, follow the money is the imperative here. And based on our research, we see an exploding attack vectors coming these days. And this could be due to new services unlocked. You talked about BMW. So how do you ensure that the monetization is ensured while we build those features in the future? And so what do we see? So on one hand, we see the rise of auto threats, and they're real. It's nothing that is in theory. Just to give you an idea, every day 500,000 forms of new malwares are detected. So it's an endless game. It's a cat and mouse game against bad guys, and the services that really rely on the technology that we drive forward are exposed. And it's no secret that data monetization in the first place is at risk. So that's a very important topic. The other hand is, if we look at the smart mobility ecosystem, yes, we talk about maybe vehicles, and we talk also about the entire mobility ecosystem, charging stations, insurance, fraud. All these things are related to industry which are not purely siloed in automotive, but they are pervasive and relevant to everything that we do with our cars, like in future doing payments. It's an extension of our digital life, actually, so you want to have the right safeguards into that. Now, what are our customers saying? And so you have to know, for cyber, there's a new regulation out. You can't sell cars if you don't comply to the regulations, so that helps. But that is a minimum bar. On top of it, resources, because this is new and it's in the infancy still, it's a scarce capability to have people who really understand about automotive cyber. It's not really comparable to IT security. It's totally different, so it's an important topic. We talked about monetization. Those revenue streams need to be protected. And you mentioned, Matthew, at the beginning, at the core of anything that we want to do to unlock future revenue streams, which is predicted to be 9 trillion in the future, in 2040. What we need as a foundation is trust. So how do you trust the data that you see? How do you make sense out of the data that you see? Is it telling you something that is abnormal and you want to investigate? That's exactly what Upstream stands for, and how we help the ecosystem grow in a safe way. So again, I mentioned cybersecurity. Looking at fleets is a very important topic. Business intelligence, providing the profiling technology that we built in order to spot not the traditional cybersecurity use case that you may think of, but in many ways, features that are not in the first intent cyber related, like unlocking a door. It can become a very important anomaly to spot if that unlocking signal is coming from the other side of the world. So that contextual understanding is really important in what we do. Obviously, it will give you also insights into predictive. And the other thing that I wanted to stress today in the last couple of minutes, trust begins also with data quality. Our experience is working with many OEMs that the quality, and I think there's also a report out from Salesforces saying essentially 40% of the data, underlying data that we use to build the new revenue streams are flawed. Think about that for a minute, what that means. So we're making decisions on quality or lack of quality in the data, and that's something that we help as well. Last but not least, generally available automotive cloud. It was announced the other day. We're very proud to be part of the Salesforce family, and we look forward to work with the ecosystem on helping to protect. So out of the Salesforce console, our customers, our joint customers, will be able to look into the insights of vehicle and vehicle fleets. And with that, I hand over to my colleague. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me? Perfect, thanks. Thanks everyone. So I'm Anders Truelsen from Otonomo. So just very short what it is we're doing Otonomo. So we basically connect to all the OEMs. And with that, we get access to all the different type of connected vehicle data which exists out there. And of course, then we are, together with the OEMs, monetizing that data. So let me go through a couple of use cases which we recently created and signed with some of our partners. If you take the first one, Waycare Recall, so they are using the data together with government agencies to predict crashes. So they're taking all that data and then they're doing the traffic insights based on that. If you take the next example with Geogramma, so there they're using the data to look into the data like where you have hard braking, you maybe have some airbags which have been going off, and you can take that data and zoom in and maybe put that data into an intersection, and then basically with that you can drive some conclusions that intersection is maybe not built in a safe way, or maybe you need to change the signals of the traffic lights, and with that hopefully we will try to, together with our partners and the OEMs, to create better road safety. If you take the next example of guide points, typical I'll call it telematics fleet example, there again you get access to all that data, and with that you can drive, you could say, more efficiency, lower cost and higher profit margin. The last one is an interesting one. It's a company out of Mountain View which are creating electric flying taxis. It is true. It's not out there yet, but I don't know exactly 100% what they're doing, but I know that the data they're getting from us, they're trying to derive, you can say, safe drop-off points and pick-up locations. And what's really important to mention when we go through these use cases, that for every single thing what we do is, of course, privacy is absolutely number one. So that means that you cannot get access to any of that data if consent has not been given. So that's very important to remember. So what it is we're doing with Salesforce, which is super interesting. So we have created together with Salesforce an app which is at the App Exchange, where you basically can get access to your vehicle data if you, for instance, are in a type of, I'll call it, a fleet business. So with that, you can do the native integration into your own Salesforce environment, so you can stay in the Salesforce universe. And then with a couple of clicks, you get access to all the different type of vehicle data which is part of your own fleet, or your customer's fleet could be a good example as well. And again, I want to repeat it, but again, we take care of all the privacy and all the consent. So of course, we need to make sure that you are the owner of that vehicle, or your customer is the owner of that vehicle. That's part of the whole process, and it's built in the Salesforce environment to make sure that that consent is given and is part of the whole process. So I just want to highlight some of the features. The feature list, of course, is a lot longer than this, but just to kind of highlight some of the interesting ones. So the first one is, of course, the vehicle location. So you can kind of track your vehicle where it is. And also the trip data for the whole trip from A to B. And where also you can optimize and say, hey, which vehicle is closest to the pickup and the drop-off, so you can optimize the whole route completion. You get access to all the vehicle data, whatever your data can be extracted. And then you can start creating actions and triggers. So if you want to have certain actions, certain triggers for certain things are happening, it just comes directly into the Salesforce environment, and then you can kind of create your own tools from there and bring it to the next level. Also, you can create geofencing. So you just take very simple, you take a polygon around a certain area, and of course, if a vehicle comes into that area for whatever reason, it's an important package, or you want to make sure the package is delivered on time, you can trigger an alert as well in that geofencing area. And all that comes together in one big dashboard, plus all the features coming from the vehicles like fuel, tire pressure, how's the health of the vehicle, all that comes together in one big dashboard. And honestly, what's very interesting we see from all our customers, of course, is that how can I predict certain things? Because of course, in the end of the day, you want to make sure that your fleet or whatever you're doing is out there doing what it should do all the time. You don't want to start spending time on when things are too late. And with all that data, we can also help you together with Salesforce to predict, for instance, maintenance.
So just again, I mean, we think this offering should be quite broad. Whatever you are in fleet management, dealers, car rental, subscriptions, but also if you're in traditional fleet and you want to add electrical vehicles, any leasing and leasing programs, that all come together in one Salesforce environment together with the app we have created. And again, you're getting access to all the different type of vehicle data which your vehicle can provide. And the great thing is you don't have to wait for it. It's there today, so you can use it right now or tomorrow. It's available and it's working very nicely. Thanks for my side, Matthew.
Thank you. So we've intentionally given a little bit of time at the end, I think, for questions. I know this is some people's quite a new topic, but there's also a number of different players and actions in. So kind of open to taking some questions from the audience. Maybe just raise a hand and we can hear you. I'll repeat the question for the benefit of everyone with headsets on. We'll go from there. So any questions from the audience? Yep. So the question about access to data, so both Upstream and Otonomo, the relationship is directly with the manufacturers, the OEMs, and that is done on a one-by-one because each OEM is different. What I think is quite interesting we find with the data is that even for, I won't name names, but even for a number of the manufacturers, the connected vehicle signals and data points are different between different models and derivatives. So actually one of the things that both organisations actually try and provide back to the OEMs is data quality, data standardisation and support back into the engineering functions, because actually there is a lot of inconsistency in the marketplace in the way that data comes in. So then when you start looking at vehicle safety and again you start looking at vehicle security, there's a real push to standardise that. So yeah, both organisations will work directly with the manufacturer. I think one of the conversations, I know there's quite a lot of automotive retailers in the audience today, is actually as an automotive retailer, if you're trying to build more of a direct relationship with a customer now, actually can you ask the customer for consent to use the connected vehicle data, right? And if the customer gives consent to you as a retailer, then the question is, can you then go back to the manufacturer and actually say to the manufacturer, I received that consent, therefore can I get access to the data, because it is essentially now available on the market. So I think that's kind of the direction of travel that we need to go. I think for a lot of the manufacturers, there are specific use cases here around quality. So a lot of the connected car data that's been analysed is going back into R&D to try and reduce vehicle quality issues. But the elements around actually providing a better lifestyle experience on the car, at the minute, a lot of manufacturers just don't have the capacity to interrogate and understand that. And I think that's where there's an opportunity for retailers to think more about the holistic lifestyle of the customer and how those data signals are used. Any other questions? You've either answered everything that has ever wanted to be known. Oh, sorry, go on.
How does that work? Maybe some stupid question. How does it work for a leasing company? Because they own the vehicle, but actually they're not the drivers. They're the consent that you just.
Yeah. So I guess the leasing. I mean, I don't know, Anders, if you want to answer this one.
Yeah, so if you take a leasing company, you're right. I mean, they're the owner of the vehicle, but the driver is, I mean, let's be honest, feels he's the real owner, right? And that's exactly how it is, and it's how it should be. So yeah, the driver needs to be giving consent to the leasing company, and then what happens very simply, you take the VIN number of that car, and you just load it in, connects to the OEM, and all the data comes in. And of course, then the only thing they need to do is to prove that the driver, not the owner, because that's a leasing company, but the driver of the vehicle have been providing consent. And you can consent in different ways, right? I mean, the most tough one is always GPS, because people don't like to be tracked. So also you can also build it in such a way that, let's say for instance, that now you're being notified that you need to go to the dealer for certain maintenance, but now you're giving consent for the GPS. So you can unlock that at that second, that moment, and say, hey, it's on for, let's say, 5 days, and it goes off again. Yeah. So there's many different ways to do it, but you're absolutely correct that the driver needs to be providing consent in the leasing example. 100%.
Yes. what's probably so the question was, what's the number one revenue stream that you see for Otonomo customers at the minute in terms of using the app?
Yeah, so it's subscription based, right? For monetizing OEM data, where you pay a monthly fee for getting access to that data, and of course the subscription or the monthly fee can vary in terms of how much data is being shared. But that's the number one monetizing at this stage.
And then I think in terms of the benefit to say like the leasing company or the fleet, it's predictive maintenance, right? So you're getting the data signals in, and you can then, with the right analysis, you can predict, right, that there's going to be a fault before the customer even knows, right? So like there's been a lot of conversation of, well, if I've got a warning light on the dashboard, why do I need a warning light in the app? That's not the point. The data packaging and the analytics that sit in the app allow you to go, actually, based on this model, based on this derivative, based on the driving style, we're expecting a failure rate within 5 days, 10 days, and so you preempt it. The other benefit from a retail perspective is around service bay capacity. So actually, if you know you've got capacity in the coming weeks, you can look at the state of the fleet, you can decide which vehicles you bring in, and that improves the relationship again between retailer and fleet owner. I've got 2 minutes, I'll take one more question from them.
We talked about OEMs and dealers. What about tier one? What is the next for the tier one? How do we get a piece of
That's a good question from a tier one supplier. So again, in the conversations that we've seen, it's a relationship between the tier one supplier and the manufacturer, between the OEM. They've got to agree between them what data. Again, most cases it's completely anonymized, right? So it will go down to a bin level, but there's no personal information, there's no GPS information. It's down to parts quality and parts performance. But in most of those instances, that's something that has to be agreed between the tier one supplier and then just the manufacturer. The tier one supplier then obviously can get that access either through data access through Otonomo. Okay, so there's a lot happening in this space. I mean, I think the one key thing is that so almost every OEM is working with one or other, or actually both, because there's the fleet side of it and there is the security side of it. If I can be candid, I worked at a former manufacturer myself. This is something that the manufacturers are really struggling to grapple with. It's complex, it's evolving, and especially the security side means that there's a reason there's third parties in this space providing the kind of quality service that they do. So happy to take questions afterwards. Thank you very much for your time and enjoy your last day at Dreamforce.